Ayo, how's it going, guys? It's Biggs here, and today I'd like to do a little analysis of my PFA Season 12 draft. Before I get into that a little bit too much, I kind of just want to explain the PFA and what that is and what that kind of looks like in terms of drafting and all that. PFA. It stands for the Pokemon Forever Association, and I've been with this squad for ever since season one, actually. And this kind of started back in like the X and Y days, back when there was like Mega Evolutions and all that. And so, I kind of what was it after like season five or season six? I took a little bit of a break just because I wanted to get finished up with schoolwork and all that. And now I'm back in my college days, back in season 12. And yeah, if you guys want to kind of look over the draft or like the tier list, then we have the tier list and all that right here. So this is, should say S tier right there, then A, B, C, all the way down to E right here. And this is not a point league. This is just a good old you draft one S tier mon, one A tier, then you get two Bs, two Cs, a D and an E, and then we have four extra picks where we have 400 points. So it's kind of a point league, but not really. And we're only allowed one S tier, but then once we get down to say A, B, you see the minus 180, minus 120, and all that. So there's a bunch of different combinations with which point systems you or which letter grades you draft from for Mons to get to 400. So there's that. There is also, my apologies. Wow, whoops. So back to this. With S and A tier Mons. So we have a thing with boots. No one really likes boots in this league, which is kind of understandable. So S tier Mons do not get boots, and A tier Mons do not get boots. Any Mons that are B tier and below get boots, but even then, when you're rocking out with your team, you can only have one Mon with boots. Like you can have a full team with heavy duty boots because no one really likes that, and that was kind of a group vote as well. So uh, that's just what the league wants, and we'll just chill with it. But yeah, I'll go ahead and leave a link to this little doc right here, and just kind of share that with you guys if you guys want to see where everything is. For the PFA homies watching this, don't worry, this isn't the actual draft. This is just a copy of what I got after the draft. So yeah, that's all good. And with that little bit of background out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about our draft. So in terms of the draft, I got the third round pick overall, and it was snake style too. So that was pretty solid. Just getting close to the will pick is always nice. In terms of my first pick, there's really two S-Mons that I was really going for. One of which being Dragapult, because that's really just one of the best Mons in the game right now in terms of league. And it went, what was it? The first person, Mike, got Mew, and then the homie right before me got Dragapult. So I'm like, damn, okay. So I was really debating getting either the other S tier mon I wanted, or just go for my A tier pick right away. And then after talking to someone else in the draft in the DMs, he kind of made it a point to grab S tiers as soon as possible, just because there wasn't that many, and if there was only one I was digging, then just go with that. So with that idea in mind, my first round pick went to Kyurem in S tier. And I was actually pretty happy about this because, for one, I found out that someone else really wanted Kyurem. It fit their uh, little list pretty clearly. So that was kind of a snipe right there. And yeah, with Kyurem, I never actually used this thing in draft, but I know the power that this guy can do. Just looking at the set real quick, both 130 in attack and special attack is great. The HP is also really nice, makes it a little bit bulky, especially with 90 all across the board with defense and spadef. 95 speed isn't that terrible. I could easily run Scarf and just run House. And yeah, it's just really good stats across the board. Dragon Ice type. Getting pressure is also really nice. If I'm up against some sort of stall. And I know the power that this thing can do. Definitely I could run like a D-Dance set. Because I know this thing does get a few good physical moves here and there, but I don't think it really compares to what we all know as the special set with Ice Beam, Draco, all that different stuff. This thing doesn't get boots, unfortunately, but at the same time, I'm chilling with it because that just gives me more options to run Scarf or Life Orb or something nice with that. So yeah, for a first round pick, I am definitely very happy with this, mainly because I didn't really have any other crazy dragon types in mind for this draft. So getting Kyurem right off the bat is great for a dragon type. So yeah. My second round pick. So I was really worried that this thing would drop in round 2, because with Snake Style draft, I'd be at the last 3. And I was very certain someone was going to grab Corviknight, straight up. But luckily, this dude kind of fell to me, and I'm very happy about that as well. With the same system, or not system, but same idea of Kyurem in terms of typing. I didn't really have anything crazy planned for a dragon type. Other than Kyurem. So with the same thing with Corviknight in terms of a steel type, I did have a few other steel types in mind, but nothing as great as Corviknight. So already you're getting that steel dragon synergy going on. Once I grab the fairy type 2, then we get that core going on, which is great in terms of abilities. Pressure 2, which is not bad. Unnerve isn't really that crazy unless I'm expecting berries. But Mirror Armor is probably the biggest thing, just because you stop Intimidate for 1. If they're trying to do any weird stuff to you in terms of just dropping your stats, then that just kind of backfires, which is also really nice. Stats, at first glance, don't seem insane, just because like 105, 85 defense and speed def is solid. 98 HP is not bad either. 87 attacks kind of meh. 67 is not that great for a speed tier. But at the same time, what makes this mon actually really nice is, for one, body press. So say if I want to bulk up or something, or if I have the opportunity to, I can make work of body press. This is a defogger. I forgot to mention with Kyurem as well. That's also a defogger, so excuse me. So there's that. Home Claws is also, I don't know, maybe run bulk up instead. But screens, roost, I could even get up a tailwind. U-turn is good for pivot. Taunt, there's that as well. But really with Corviknight, I just really like the typing on this thing, because Flying Steel is an amazing, just a defensive typing, just because you avoid so much. Like, I think you're only really weak to electric types. Electric and fire, I guess. But outside of that, like you eat up fairies. If someone's trying to drop a Draco on you, uh, you're steel type, so you can kind of eat that up, roost off any of that damage, And yeah, it's just a really nice mon that I was kind of surprised fell to the bottom of round two. So very happy I got Corviknight with my A tier pick. So yeah, my third round pick. So this was kind of a meme going around in before the draft actually started, because when we were all together, the league, about talking about different tierings or tier lists with putting certain mons higher or lower than last season, I was kind of arguing this one mon go up a tier, just because I know the power that it can do, with all the diversity it has. But the league really just disagreed with me, and they were like, it's just lacking like one thing, so it's gonna stick in C tier. So I made this crazy move, and round three, I picked up Silvally. So I really like Silvally. It's probably like one of my favorite mons in a draft format for a few reasons. First off, with the RKS system, for its ability, I can basically give it any item to make it any special like typing I want it to be. So, say I need another fairy type, I can get fairy Silvally. There's like a strong electric type I can't deal with as well. Make that a ground type. Even if I don't want to make it any special typing, then normal gets its own item, so like life orb or even lefties or leftovers. But having the ability to be any type, I think, is really crazy, especially on the draft format when at the start of the screen your opponent doesn't exactly know what Silvally to expect, especially when your stats are all just base 95. Usually I've heard quite a bit about, like flame charge, sword stance, max speed, max attack. But honestly, like, I think there's just so much more you can do with Silvally. Like, 95 all across the board, especially for like defensive sets, is actually really solid. Like, I could probably run max HP, maybe a little bit in speed def, and then summon attack, like something like this, for example, and then I just have a tanky mon that deals really good damage, especially if it's like a certain typing that overwhelms the other team. So there's that. It gets special moves too, so I could maybe do something like this where maybe, it's more special attacking, but it takes more physical hits. Well, like, it can do quite a bit in terms of its stats. And then when you look at its moves, like, the only issue is that it does not have recovery. Other than that, like, multi-attack, that's 120, plus your stab. So that would be 180 base damage, which is really strong. Defog, so another defogger, that's insane. Maybe this is like a suicide lead where I just run explosion and then I take out anything after I get something up, like a tailwinds or maybe a magic coat to protect rocks or something. Like, there's that. Special moves like steel beam if I want to run that, or surf, T-bolt, some status with T-wave, toxic. It has 2 pivot moves with U-turn or parting shot, which is insane. Ice beam, even, like, it just has so much like viability in terms of, or versatility I should say, with its typing, what moves you run, what stats you have. Like, there's just so much going on with Silvally that I enjoy, where taking it at a round 3 pick in C tier was honestly for me such a steal. So I think Silvally will do a lot for me this season for sure. I'll try to make sure it does. But yeah, Silvally. So after round 3, it was going on to round 4. And so I was kind of looking at some stuff in terms of what would work best with my team, or what do I want straight off the bat. And kind of looking at these first 3 with your Corviknight, Savali, I was kind of wanting some sort of priority. Just because priority, I feel, would be amazing, just so that just basically confirms any kills that I need to get off, assuming they don't have priority, or just getting off good damage before I have to go down, stuff like that. So I was just kind of looking for a really strong mon that would get that off for me. And I was kind of looking through the tiers, and I had a little bit of prep before my draft. And I had a mon in mind because there was a water type I really wanted that I felt I could make work with this team very well. And I could probably put my fairy type to wait a few more rounds. So yeah, with my 4th round pick, I was able to get Crawdont. Now, Crawdont, I think Crawdon's a dad. The Crawfather, I like to call him. But usually, when it comes to abilities, outside of Hypercutter and Shellmimer, they don't really do much. But your real ability is going to be Adaptability, which is, times 2 stab. And right off the bat, that's just already amazing. Because really, with Crawdont, you don't need it to run any coverage moves, like an ice type move or some other weird typing move. Honestly, like, you can run liquidation, hope for the defense drop. Aqua Jet, like I said, that's good priority, especially for times 2 stab. That's actually crazy. Having knockoff is also just so critical to a team, I believe, just because knocking off any item, especially if it's boots or Eviolite or anything like a choice item, I think that's just insane too. And not to, to even get even crazier with that, we got Dragon Dance if I want to try and get fast. Sword Stance, even if I am just wanting to focus on either I have to support with Crawdon with like webs or something, or I just want to get off Aqua Jets and just kill things or knock things out. I can do that. If I did want to get a little bit cheeky with this, I could definitely run stuff like Taunt, maybe even Lash Out if I'm up against an Intimidate Mon. What else? I guess maybe Close Combat, but then again, like I said, with Wonder Dark typing and having those moves and adaptability, you don't really need that. And I think that's just really nice for a mon to kind of just do its own thing and not really... Well, it would be nice to go outside the box. It doesn't really need to do that with what it has. So yeah, especially with hard-hitting moves, at 120 attack, that's insane. 55 speed, it's slow, but if with Aqua Jet, that doesn't really matter. Plus, any support I get with it, I can make stuff work. Yeah, kind of like 85 defense, 63 HP. Like, it's not really that tanky. But that's not really the goal of Crawdon. My goal with it is to just get damage off. Maybe if I outspeed something on a switch in, then there's really no counters to take a hit unless you're like Ferrothorn or something. But even then, like, if I click knockoff, then you lose your item or something. But yeah, Crawdon's one mon I really like, and I'm happy that I got it at this point. So yeah, going into round 5, after Crawdon, I kind of let my fairy type fall around later, which actually worked out fine because no one really grabbed it. So to finish off the Kyurem, Corviknight, Dragon Steel Core, I went ahead and grabbed my fairy in Slurpuff. Now, Slurpuff, I think is actually really cool for a few reasons. Sweetville, depending on the team that I'm up against, if it has like a Moongus or any other Sporemon or sleeping moves, Sweetville is something to consider, but the real money is in Unburden. Mainly because with Slurpuff, I can run a berry, and then, assuming that berry pops off, then now Slurpuff is just really fast. So, usually, you see the common sets with Slurpuff with, Belly Drum, and then Play Rough, whatever coverage that has. And usually that can do work as long as you get rid of the threats on a team. But what I'm slightly more interested in is kind of the support this thing can do. Already you can see aromatherapy, getting rid of any status on my team. I can make this thing bulky as hell with Cotton Guard. That's amazing. Heal Bell, same thing as aromatherapy. It can get up screens, at least light screen. Has a little bit coverage with, Energy Ball, Flamethrower. If I'm thinking more physical, Drain Punch. Okay, cool. Probably what I'm most interested in is Sticky Web. Because in this league where only one Mon can have boots, outside of Levitate Mons and Flying types, Sticky Web can actually do quite a bit to the opposing team. So that's where that synergy is going to come in with, Kyurem with that 95 base speed. Maybe even Corviknight if it has to outspeed something. Silvally, Crawdon even, assuming I put in the EVs for speed, but either way, Sticky Web's just, I think it's really insane, especially for the kind of team I'm running, because that's going to slow down any sweepers that try to come in. It's going to force a rapid spin or the fog to come out, which, assuming if the opponent has their rocks up on my side of the field and they only have the fog, then it's kind of balancing out, do they want to keep their rocks up, or do they want to get rid of that -1 speed? So I think that's insane. Again, a little bit more coverage with Thunderbolt. Got a little bit of that tech with Toxic or Yawn, and then Wish is just really nice too. Even if I want to Charm, Charm could probably put in some work, help the team out. Even Gastro Acid, even, I don't know. But, yeah. And the stats aren't insane on this. With Unburden, obviously, that 180, just 180, without anything investing, goes up to 360. So, I mean, that already speeds out quite a bit. Plus 6, is insane if I can get that off. If I'm running that set even, but yeah, the stats aren't that insane. But I think just because of what I can do with its abilities, what I can do with berries, its move pool as a support mon, I think this mon will do quite a bit of work for me. And hopefully it gets up there with some of the defensive MVPs towards the end of the season. So yeah, that's a Slurpuff for you. So that's 5 mon so far. And I'm digging it pretty well. I got my core with Slurpuff, Kyurem, Corviknight. Got that Silvally, which can be anything, and then Crawdon for my water type so far, plus knockoff. So I'm digging it so far. And I'm kind of looking at this team, and I'm like, I could really use more hazards. More hazards and more support. Because while Slurpuff can do some work, in terms of support, I don't really want it carrying the entire team with support. because I feel like that would get really predictable. So I was kind of looking through the tiers, and by round 6, I noticed there was one Mon in, I believe, I want to say C or D tier that really caught my eye, and I was surprised it wasn't taken yet. So I picked up the Thickie herself, Miltank. And let me tell you, I actually really like Miltank as a league, in a league format. For a few reasons. First off, all of his abilities are completely viable. If I'm thinking more of a defensive set, I could run Thick Fat and kind of get rid of that Fire Ice weakness that I could have with my team. Scrappy, that makes it immune to Intimidate, plus I can hit Ghost types if I have to, which is just, again, that's amazing. Hitting anything your stab is immune to, I think is just great. And then Sap Sipper too. If there's like a threatening grass type to my team, then Sap Sipper can put it in work. So that's also really good to see. In terms of its moves, I like to think of it as Slurpuff, but without the Unburden to kind of make that speed higher, and just more overall not as balanced as like Slurpuff stats right here, with like all this weird stuff going on, but more focused towards like an actual bulky Mon. Because I feel like with Slurpuff, it's more of a jack of all trades, master of none with support, and trying to do that with like its offense, which you can do, but not as insane. Assuming you still have threats on the field that counter it. But with Miltank, I'm kind of referring to that 100 base speed, that 105 defense, even 70 special defense isn't like too low, with 95 HP too, so that's actually really nice. 80 base attack, kind of underwhelming, but at the same time, it can still do some damage. But yeah, I like the spread, like the stat spread on it, and on top of that, with its moves, I could run Curse if I want to try and maybe set up and like Body Slam, which, oh yeah, it has Body Slam. Deals, that much with a chance to paralyze, which is always so great. If I'm feeling cheeky, I can run Counter. Has some coverage with, Hammer Arm, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, high horsepower, Play Rough. It also has recovery as well, like with Corviknight, with its Roost. Kyurem gets Roost. Miltank has Miltank, which is really nice. What else? Maybe, yeah, I can run Toxic or T-Wave, which is amazing. Like I said, Play Rough, Iron Head. Really, Heal Bell as well. Like I was talking about with that support, getting rid of status moves or status conditions is great. Maybe if I'm not looking for like solid damage in terms of like Body Slam or something, just because like the matchup isn't great, I can always still run Seismic Toss for just a solid 100 damage, and depending on like which mon it is, I could do quite a bit with that. And yeah. I don't really know if I'm missing anything else. I guess Bulldoze could be useful to deliver some speed. Psych Up if I want to pull something with that off. But yeah, it has a lot of good moves that I like with its stat spread and like abilities and all that. I think Miltank puts in a lot of work for this team, especially being just a normal type. I think that just really helps out well. So yeah, and that's 6 mons so far out of the 12. And so I'm kind of looking at this team, and I'm kind of noticing by the time of round 7, this is kind of a slow team. Like, yeah, I have priority. I have 100 base speed mon, but this is my fastest mon. Then it goes like Kyurem and Savali, and then everyone else kind of suffers unless Slurpuff has a specific set. But I was kind of looking for more speed, and on top of that, I kind of want to make that core happen with like Water, Fire, Grass, just to kind of get that synergy going. And by round 7, I was looking at this A tier mon that I was surprised was A tier to begin with, just because of how powerful it is. But like, I guess it just kind of dropped around 7. And at that point, it wasn't even in my prep draft. It was just there. And I'm like, this actually fits my team rather well in terms of getting damage out and all that. So with round 7, I'd like to introduce to you probably one of my favorite draft picks of this season, Blacephalon. And my oh my, this thing is just insane. First off, Fire Ghost. Fire with water, that's a great synergy right there. Kind of cover each other's weaknesses in some degree. And having a ghost type, I think is actually really nice because outside of dark types and normal types, nothing necessarily wants to take a ghost type move. And especially like ghost stab. So I think that just right off the bat is really nice in terms of typing. In terms of ability, we all kind of know about Beast Boost, but for those who don't know, highest stat this dude has goes up +1 if I just take someone out. And I think that by itself just sets up so much for like sweeping, assuming I get rid of threats and all that. But Blacephalon with its ability and even its stats, like look at this. 107 base speed, that's really nice. It could be higher, but we're not going to complain when we have 151 special attack and 127 attack. Like, yeah, this thing can fall to like priority pretty easily, like Aqua Jet, Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak even. Maybe take like one, but then can't take another one. But like, honestly, it's just such a good mon with like so much offensive power, and it gets coverage too with like assuming there's like terrain up. Expanding Force does work. Fire Blast Stab, oh yes please, maybe I don't want to run Fire Blast because of the accuracy. Cool, I still have 90 base Flamethrower Stab. I don't know about Foul Play, but even Knockoff with 127 attack, that's insane. Mind Blown is... Oh yeah, that's right, Mind Blown. How could I even forget? I could run this, assuming there's no priority, and I can just nuke things. And with Stab, that would be 225 power. Which is just absolutely insane for a mon to have, especially when you have that much special attack. 151, like, that is insane. Shadow Ball for Stab, that's also wow. Psyshock, Rock Blast, Taunt even with that speed. Will-O-Wisp even, if I'm trying to stop some weird stuff. I'm sure I can run some other stuff with this. I could get cheeky with Hypnosis if I even want to. A little bit iffy accuracy, but I could still make it work, you know? Like, in terms of just offensive potential, I could just run House with Blacephalon. And even if it doesn't get Boots, like, Boots does not really upset me too much. I think even without Boots, Bluestuff is fine as an offensive mon. Even considering I have the Foggers right now, like 3 of them. So you know, I just think this is a great offensive addition to my um, to my team, and I feel like this is going to be brought to quite a few games, assuming it can get the chance to. And when it does get the chance, I'm going to kind of prove that this is an S tier, hopefully. But yeah, just insane mon for an A tier. So I use my points for that. After Blacephalon, I was looking at this team a little bit more, and I have some power, I have the speed, I have the bulk a little bit. Uh, and one of the things I was kind of worried about, and what I usually recommend in league drafts, is to always have a poison type, or grounded poison type especially, just to kind of stop toxic spikes. Because considering like I'm up against toxic spikes, and say I don't bring Corviknight, then I'm kind of relying more on my mons that can get like poisoned or toxic, um, into getting poisoned in order to having to defog. And even then, like if they get poisoned, then I have to rely on like heal bill or aromatherapy, and that's just something I don't really want to deal with. And plus, I just kind of felt like having another water type would be nice. So I kind of reached down to, I believe, D tier, to grab Quillfish. And I actually really like Quillfish, especially as like a low tier pick, for a few reasons. Kind of realized it's been a long minute, but I'll go ahead and try and keep these next few mons short. But we got Intimidate. Intimidate's great. Poison Point, even, that if I want to get cheeky with poisoning someone, there's that. This guy gets its own toxic spikes, toxic regular spikes. Priority with Aqua Jet if I have to. I could even run Hex if I'm thinking that. Haze is crazy. Destiny Bond. Scald's always nice for a burn, especially Stab. Ice Beam is there. Obviously Poison type moves. Thunder Wave, all of that. I have a lot of status moves and everything that can really hurt an opposing team. And I think that's just really nice, especially considering with Intimidate, that's gonna stop some setups here and there. The stats aren't really that great. 85 speed, 85 defense, 95 attack, 65 HP is not great at all. But I still think with Quillfish, I kind of eliminate that issue of toxic spikes running around. And on top of that, I get myself an Intimidate mon and another good water type, which I think I could probably switch between Crawdon and Quillfish here and there, depending on what I'm up against. But yeah, Quillfish, good pick, in my opinion. And going into the next pick, again, I'm surprised this drops this far, and a little bit ironic too, because before the draft, I was telling everyone, if you draft this mon, I will go out of my way to 6-0 you as best as I can, because I do not like this mon at all. I don't like facing it. I don't like what it can do. I don't like its bulk. I think it's just too insane of a mon. But in B tier, I was looking and I saw this actually quite fit my team well with a psychic typing, and just everything it could do. So your homeboy bit the bullet and grabbed Cresselia. And Cresselia, for those who don't know, is not fun to take on. First off, just already Levitate. Just being immune to a ground type move means so much, especially in a league where EQ is probably like one of the best moves in the game, just universally. I think Levitate's such a great ability. Um, and then for moves, Cresselia is just so insane with like coverage, energy ball, ice beam, moonblast, psychic, shock, shadow ball. Um, Even if I want to get cheeky with charge beam to get that set up, icy wind even to get speed lowered. Um, it's just so insane in terms of that, and not even that with offensive moves. Expanding force too. How could I forget? But for other moves, Lunar Dance, just giving one of my mons full HP for another go, especially for late game, I think it's just insane. Having both light screen and reflect could maybe work out. Moonlight, just giving it self recovery. Sword power if I want to run Calm Mind or anything crazy, because that could very definitely put in work if I get rid of threats for that. Again, T Wave Toxic. I could get cheeky with Trick, because my team's slightly slow outside of like Lasef, Savali, Kiram. I could even run like a Trick Room team and have fun with that. Um, so that's really, this is a great move pool for like what you can do. And on top of that, just the cherry on top. Look at this. Look at this. 120 HP, 120 defense, 130 special defense. Tanky, just such a tanky mon that requires so much. Like, if my opponent does not have a super effective move against this thing, or I just lose to Toxic with it, like, I can do so much work with Cresselia. And 85 speed for a bulky mon like this isn't bad either. Like, it's actually really nice. And special attack 75, even 70 attack. Like, these two aren't crazy at all, but it can still just put in so much work. And I feel like it just fit my team too well to just pass this thing up. So, yeah. I'm expecting Cresselia to be some sort of defensive MVP for my team, because just looking at this, it's just too insane. But yeah. So once I got all these mons together, looking through this team and looking at what was left in the draft, because I did get snapped a few times. I needed a grass type. 100% needed a grass type. And I wanted one with rapid spin. And so I wanted Serena, but Serena got taken few rounds before I thought it would. So that was unfortunate. So I had between two options. I had between Eldegoss, which had Regenerator and Rapid Spin, and was a grass type, or Tangela, who was, grass type, regen. It wouldn't have Rapid Spin, but it would still have so much bulk with Eviolite. And at the end of the day, after talking with someone from the league as well, just getting their feedback, I kind of just went out of the way and used my next D tier pick on Tangela. So just straight up, having a grass type with fire and the two waters, that's great synergy right there. I can run Eviolite. That benefits well, because looking at it already for its defensive stats, 40 sped def isn't that great. It gets helped out by Eviolite especially, but it's not insane. But 115 defense with Eviolite is just absolutely insane. Like, even with 65 HP, it can take a lot of hits. Like, of course it's weak to good old knockoff because of Eviolite, but it can still just tank so much if I work around that. Of course, regen, that's the ability to run. Just switching out and getting free health is great. move pool, honestly, I'll see a lot of like toxic, stun spore, maybe even sleep powder. It gets synthesis, which is great. Um, if I'm wanting to deal some good damage, power whip's not terrible. Probably more of a special type move though, so maybe like Giga Drain even or Energy Ball. It can knock off itself, which is great. Pain Split isn't terrible. Um, if I am wanting to, whatever reason, just curse, I can do that too. Um, but yeah, no, like, I think this is just a really good addition to the team, not only because it's a grass type, but because there's another bulky mon that just works with other bulky mons within my team that I think will put in some, like, definitely put in some trouble for some teams out there. So, yeah, unfortunately, and spoilers, I don't get a rapid spinner with this team, but I still have a few defoggers, so I'm chilling with that. Unless, nah, I was getting a little bit too optimistic about Quillfish, but yeah, no, I'm digging this team right here, and I still have two picks left with this, and I'm just kind of like trying to fill in like any type holes that I have that I could use at this point, because at this point I have my C tier pick left and my E tier pick left. My C tier pick with points, with the last little bit of points I have. So with that, I'm looking at the C tiers, and I think there was quite a bit left. I was really thinking, because Flygon was still there, and I really was thinking having a ground type with Flygon plus another dragon type's nice. I think I thought Flygon would have been nice. Um, but I, to be fair, I don't know what I was really thinking. I think this was kind of a blunder pick right here, just kind of a mess up. But at the end of the day, instead of Flygon, I got Lycanroc midday instead, which isn't a bad mon at all. I'm not gonna diss this mon at all because I think it still does what I would enjoy it to do. Um, Steadfast, so it doesn't really suffer from a flinch, or it does, but I go up 1 point in speed, which is great. Sand Rush, kind of okay. It's not with. I don't have Sandstream, so I'm not crazy about it. But in terms of its abilities, it's not insane. But in terms of its moves, I do kind of like what it can run. So like Excel Rock being the only rock type move that's physical and can hit 100% with priority, I just think is way too good. Maybe not like insane, but it's still like priority at the end of the day. And I think with what I'm up against in this league, Accelerate could put in work. Even without stab priority, I can run close combat, crunch, drill run, Fire Fang. Probably not Fire Fang as crazy, but it's still there. Iron Head, Play Rough, Psychic Fangs. It just gets a lot of coverage in terms of offensively. And that, oh, even Stone Edge as a good stab. That's really good. And Sucker Punch as well. But I was really looking at another Stealth Rocker because, in terms of Stealth Rock, I think I only had no tank. So I was like, oh, I could really use another one. And then, of course, Toxic. Taunt would be nice, especially since with its stats, it's actually quite fast. And another thing I was looking at with my mons, or like my team, was just having good speed tiers, because 112 speed is great, especially with 115 attack. It doesn't necessarily, like, it would be nice if it had more defensive potential, but with what this mon is, I think it's just fine as like a fast offensive hitter. I think that was probably the reason why I picked it over Flygon, because It was just faster, and I needed something a little bit more over 100 speed that wasn't Blustaff right here with 107. Because other than that, Miltank hit 100. These two with Kiram and Salvali hit not like 95. And yeah, it just kind of got worse from there. So I felt like another fast Mon would have been just a great pick for the team. So hopefully this does well, especially as a stab rock type. It can do work. But yeah. And then with my last pick, so I was really struggling in E tier because at first I wanted Reboot, but since I already got Blasef, I didn't really need Reboot anymore. So I wanted to kind of branch out my typings. And so I kind of went with I could either go with a ground type for ground type damage, or a ground type stab at least, or I could have gone with an electric type, and have like another pivot in that with like Volt Switch or something, and just have good Volt like electric type damage. And so it was really between Togedemaru and what I actually picked. Because with Togedemaru, that was another Steel type for one, but also it was an okay speed tier with Nuzzle, so that could paralyze anything. And then its moves isn't bad either. And then with Iron Barbs or Lightning Rod, that's good abilities. But at the end of the day, I kind of felt like having, for one, another ice type wouldn't be bad, but having a ground type would actually benefit my team rather well, with just doing damage and getting stuff off. Because I thought I already had enough support with Slurpuff, Miltank, Quillfish, Crest, Tangela, even Corviknight, or even Silvally. Like, I had enough support to just run this ground type. So in E tier, there was Piloswine. I'm surprised this isn't D tier, but it is what it is. Ice ground type, stab ground type with EQ. That's pretty solid. Considering its stats. Probably gonna run Oblivious with this thing most of the time, just because Immune to Intimidate's great, but it'll just depend on the matchup. In terms of moves, like I said, EQ, Icicle Crash, even Screens if I want to bother with that. It gets rocks. Some coverage with Superpower. This thing's slow, so I could probably even run Avalanche, Curse, all of that. And then with its stats, just 100 base attack. Probably the most notable thing about it. I could run Eviolite if I really wanted to, but at the end of the day, I think this would just be something to switch into and get damage off, assuming I can make some prediction or something, or yeah, it's just like I feel like Piloswine might be in like too much of a situational thing to make it work. But at the end of the day, I think it could still put in some work. And oh yeah, I forgot Ice Shard priority. So even more priority, which is very nice for me. So yeah, and that was my last pick too. So with that, I got Kyurem, Corviknight, Silvally, Crawdaunt, Slurpuff, Miltank, Blacephalon, Quillfish, Crest, Tangela, Lycanroc, Midday, and Piloswine. Overall, I kind of wish I had a Rapid Spinner, but at the end of the day, I'm really digging what my team can do. It's a little bit more bulky than what I usually like to draft. Usually, I'm more hyper offense, but I think I could definitely make this team put in some work against some dudes. So, yeah, with that, that's the end of my analysis for the PFA Season 12 draft. Again, if you want to check out the tier list and everything, I have a copy down in the description. And if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Especially if you came in this far, which if you did, I appreciate you. So yeah, thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.